Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tip. Julian here for another exciting episode. This one is going to be an absolute banger. See what I did there? This episode is going to be about banger league players. Players that have a significant amount more value in leagues that are banger leagues. That's to say leagues that count hits, blocks, and sometimes penalty minutes as well. Before we jump into the content, guys, please drop a like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you do want to take your sport to the next level, consider hitting that join button as well, either on YouTube or on my Patreon, and it'll unlock you plenty of features like, for one, being able to see my rankings, as well as being able to join a Patreon exclusive fantasy league with me in it. Gonna be a lot of fun, guys. Definitely recommend you join. Let's jump into it now. Let's take a look at our first player. And we're gonna go by ADP here. And our first guy is Brady Tkachuk, currently going at an ADP of 9. Brady Tkachuk is a peripherals monster. He was 3rd in hits last year, 2nd in penalty minutes, and 4th in shots on goal, which should count in almost every league. Brady Tkachuk is an absolute monster in leagues that count hits. His current ADP is 9, and I think that's very good value as long as you're in a league with hits. If you're in a league without hits, I would not draft him that early. Next guy on this list is JT Miller, currently going at an ADP of 11. Last year, he was 24th in hits, 85th in shots on goal. I'm expecting him to get a little bit less goals this year since his shooting percentage was very high last year, for a total of like 92 points or so, which is still great. Obviously not over 100 like he was last year, but still very, very good. His ADP is 11. I have him ranked at 12. So, it's pretty close. I think he's pretty decent value, and he's got very, very good positional eligibility with that right wing eligibility. Then there's Alexander Ovechkin, who was 79th in hits. Unfortunately, his hits totals are decreasing every year as he is aging. He only got 161 hits compared to 188 the year before, and it might be even less this year. But he was 19th in shots on goal, and we know the dude's going to keep shooting because he wants to break Gretzky's records. And so despite him not being the bangers league god that he used to be, his ADP is 42.8. So he's pretty decent value this year since I have him ranked 28th in my ranking. Next guy on this list is Andrei Svechnikov, who was 72nd in hits per game last year with 2.41 hits per game and 63rd in penalty minutes per game. So there's definitely some banger league appeal there. And he shot only 2.4 times per game last year, which was not great compared to 3.2 times the year before. If he can get healthy and start shooting like he did in previous seasons, he could definitely be a fantasy menace. NHL has him ranked at 92. I have him ranked at 59, but if he does stay healthy, he could end up well higher than that. It's just his health that concerns me, which is why I docked him quite a few spots. His ADP is 44.3, so you are banking on him staying healthy if you are grabbing him in that range. The next guy on this list is Moritz Seider, the number 1 defenseman in Detroit. He was 26th in hits last year, 7th in blocks per game last year, and 2nd in blocks overall last year since he did play the full 82 games. NHL has him ranked right now at 136, which obviously is way too low. I have him ranked at 91, and his current ADP is 84.8, so it's pretty similar to my ranking. I definitely don't mind that, and he's definitely got a good amount of value in bangers leagues that have hits and blocks. Next guy on this list is Jeremy Lauzon, currently going on an ADP of 98.3. He was 1st in hits and hits per game last year with 4.89 hits per game, which was absolutely incredible. He broke the record last year for most hits in a season. He was also 15th in penalty minutes with 98 penalty minutes and 151st in block shots per game, which is significant for the floor. NHL has him unranked right now, but he is going on an ADP of 98.3. I have him ranked 240th in leagues that count hits. He is a very safe floor guy, but I would not draft him at that current ADP. Like, he was hitting at a record pace last year, which I can't imagine he's able to do once again this year. It's just something that doesn't make any sense. If you can get him closer to the 200 range, that's fine in leagues that count hits. But really, guys, if you're drafting him at 98, you're really wasting a draft pick. The next guy on this list is Darnell Nurse with an ADP of 148.5. Last year, he was 123rd in hits, which was a sizable drop over the past couple of years, and 17th in block shots, and 106th in shots on goal, 34th in penalty minutes. What's the conclusion? He's a pretty solid safe floor player because he kind of plays all the categories, but that floor has dropped quite a bit over the past few years, not only the peripherals, but the points as well. He's a safe, but pretty boring pick later in drafts. He will likely finish in the top 130 to 150 player range as long as your league counts all those peripherals, hits, shots, and blocks. It's a tiny bit more valuable if it counts penalty minutes. Next guy is Martin Pospisil, ranked at 152.5, was 5th in hits per game last year, 9th in penalty minutes, did miss 19 games too, so that's pretty impressive. I would look at him only in bangers leagues where hits and penalty minutes are both valuable. He may get a little bit more points this year as well, but I'm not overly high on him unless you got penalty minutes in your leagues. Next guy on this list is Radko Gudas, currently going at an ADP of 160. He was 16th in hits last year, 10th in hits per game since he did miss quite a bit of time. He was 5th in penalty minutes and penalty minutes per game, and he was 20th in block shots per game as well. Once again, this guy's a very solid safe floor in any league that has hits and blocks. I have him ranked at 174 this year. If you've got penalty minutes, that safe floor is even higher every night. So even though he's going a little bit higher than I have him ranked, I don't hate drafting him in this range if you want a safe defenseman that will, give you that floor every single night. Next guy on this list is Evander Kane. And once he's healthy, because we don't know how long he's going to be out for, he's going to be a peripherals monster. He was 6th in hits last year, 56th in shots on goal, and 26th in penalty minutes. With those peripherals, he doesn't even have to do better than last year offensively to be a top 50 to 60 player once he's healthy. And I think he is going to do better offensively because, he was playing through quite a bit of injuries, could definitely do better than 44 points in a full season. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's going to play a full season. But his ADP right now is 162.3. I really hope you're not drafting anytime soon because it's going to be good to know how long he's actually out for before you consider drafting this guy. The next guy on this list is Dakota Joshua, who's currently going at an ADP of 165.5. Last year, he was 5th in hits per game and 79th in penalty minutes per game. So he's definitely going to be attracting some people in bangers leagues. That shooting percentage that he had was very high last year, but he did develop really good chemistry with Blueger and Garland on the third line. I think he's going to have a pretty decent season. 40 points-ish with some really great peripherals makes him pretty solid in fantasy. NHL has him ranked at 142. And I have him ranked at 137. Therefore, that ADP of 165.5, very good value if your league has hits. Next guy on this list is Tom Wilson, who was 23rd in hits per game last year and 21st in hits overall, despite him missing 8 games. He is 129th in shots per game, so he definitely could increase that. He was better in the past, and was 3rd in penalty minutes in the entire league. So definitely, if you have penalty minutes, Tom Wilson is someone you want a lot. Now, last year he had a very below average year offensively. His on-ice shooting percentage was 5.5, which is very, very low. I'm expecting him to get near that 50-point mark once again this season. He's done it plenty of times. If he does, if you're in a league that counts hits, he can end up finishing around like the 60th best player. His ADP right now is 181. That's an incredible steal. I definitely do not mind drafting him this year, especially in a position like right wing where there's really not that many options. Tom Wilson is a very good one very late in drafts right now. The next guy on this list is Jacob Trouba, and you guys know I love naming my fantasy teams. I knew you were Trouba if I do end up drafting this guy. And yes, his fantasy value has been decreasing a little bit each year over the past few years. He did get down to 22 points from 30 the year before, and his shooting really fell off. 129 shots compared to 199 the year before, but he's still a pretty solid, safe floor in other categories. He was 43rd in hits per game last year, 6th in block shots per game, and 48th in penalty minutes per game if you do count that in your league. He is going very, very late in drafts. Actually, currently does not have an ADP in Yahoo, so he can make a very solid later pick. I actually still have Jacob Trouba ranked pretty high just for that safe floor. He's obviously not an exciting player, and it's probably not going to go off very much during the season, but there is a safe floor night in and night out, and having a guy like that on your team is really solid, and especially if he's going this late, I like him a lot this year. Garnet Hathaway was 2nd in hits last year, only after Jeremy Lauzon, was 16th in penalty minutes per game, but 4th overall in penalty minutes since a lot of those guys don't play every game. He does play every game, played all 82 games last year. He's definitely a very solid option in Banger League with hits and penalty minutes, but I probably would not have him on my team otherwise unless you're in a very, very deep categories league on a week that I need a few extra hits. Liam O'Brien's another guy to look at for hits and penalty minutes. Was 19th in hits last year and 1st in penalty minutes in the whole entire league. So once again, if your league has both hits and penalty minutes, I don't hate going for him late in the draft. Matt Rempe was 44th in hits per game last year, but was 1st in the league in penalty minutes per game with 4.18 penalty minutes per game on average. He only played 17 games, but he's definitely a menace in that stat. Having penalty minutes in your league is pretty much the only reason you would have this guy on your team. Quickly, Arber Xhekaj was 38th in hits per game, 7th in penalty minutes per game, and 213th in block shot per game. So once again, consider him only in leagues with hits and penalty minutes. Tanner Jeannot is a guy who's often brought up in these types of leagues. Was 6th in hits per game last year and 24th in penalty minutes per game. I'm really not too high on this guy this year, but if you do have both hits and penalty minutes in your league, you could do worse than Tanner Jeannot. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. If you enjoyed my content today, drop a like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And consider hitting that join button if you do want to take that support to the next level. Thanks so much, guys, and I will catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.